They say, can somebody explain to my weak little gamer brain why it's taken Pokemon Home, taken so long for Pokemon Home with BDSP and Legends? Why aren't they just immediately compatible? And then, like, they're specifically asking for, like, a technical level, right? And then here's Joe. We love Joe, right? Everyone loves Joe. Theory is basically the same reason GWS took so long, despite that was functional in version 1.1 of the game. They want to make sure that BDSP cloning and glitches are plugged up. This makes it sound like he 100% knows, which I don't think is the case. I think this is like a really good speculation, and I feel like we could literally stop the video here and be like, well, that's it, right? They want to make sure that there's no cloning and glitches. But then I think we get a little bit more insight on this tweet, and it's funny because I'm gonna probably make this a YouTube video. And as soon as I make this a YouTube video, like 1 week later, BDSP and home compatibility are going to come and happen, and then the whole YouTube video will be useless. We're going back to the original thread. So then we have to talk about Michael. So if you guys don't know who Michael is, he helped make PKHex, which is obviously a way to just make Pokemon and then bloop, send them to your game, right? Hate it or love it. Obviously, this guy understands Pokemon stuff pretty well. But they tweet, and they say, adding technical support to Home for BDSP seems like an impossible nightmare task. The fact that they said they'd do it would be hilarious. So this is like a pretty... After reading Joe's statement of like, hey, they just want to make sure that you can't like clone or glitch. The fact that that Michael says this is like really kind of like, what? Excuse me? You're probably like, okay, he made PKHex, so what? He is also the reason why we know how SOS works. He is why we kind of knew how Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee stuff worked. We then found out, like 2.5 years later that he was slightly wrong about the Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee stuff, but that was like a whole nother video. This was the whole like brilliant shiny odds, whatever shiny hunting method. Pretty much that's what the point I'm trying to make here. A lot of the shiny hunting methods or raid den stuff or percentages, it's mostly because of Michael. Obviously some other people too, but from a technical standpoint, Michael knows a lot. And from my understanding, Sarumi, Joe, gets a lot of data from Michael because Michael is the technical person on that front when it comes to like understanding the game code. So when we get like one of those shiny events in Sword and Shield where it's like, it was like shiny Sudowoodo was like a 2% chance in the raid dens, and then it's like, this raid den is 2%, this raid den is 14%, this raid den is 16%. That's coming from Michael and how they like data mine it or whatever. Okay, this is where I come in. And I said, is BDSP that broken on the back end? Now we learn a little bit more about BDSP. We actually already knew this. BDSP is a Unity game. It makes BDSP one of the more hackable / whatever you want to call. You know how people like change the colors of shinies or they randomize it where like Arceus is appearing on Route 1, all that stuff, like for like Nuzlocke runs or challenge runs. BDSP being Unity makes it incredibly moddable. We already knew that though. So normal Pokemon games, including Pokemon Home, use a C++ custom engine called gflib, which is short for Game Freak Lib. That makes sense, because Game Freak made it. BDSP being a Unity game, and the saves are literally saved as C#. Is that what we were calling it? C#. I'm not a huge coder. C#? Oh, are they saying sharp? Okay, so C#. Adding support means parsing Pokemon from and updating the save. But it's a C# structure, not using serialization with multiple versions. They would have to hand roll C# Unity objects and a desterilizer in non-Unity codebase, which is going to be an enormous hack in every way. Let's ignore all the technical stuff, because I think a lot of people, including myself, don't understand the coding of games. You can do it, but you can't do it robustly. There's no way to do it that doesn't end up being revolting. Even PKHex code for BDSP is gross, and PKHex cheats a lot in ways they can't. It's really funny how bad the task they saddled themselves with is. There is actually no technical excuse for PLA. That's Pokemon Legends Arceus, which uses gflib. So, just to recap here, as we mentioned this earlier, gflib is the coding structure that all the Pokemon games have used thus far, except for BDSP, because BDSP uses Unity. They made a Pokemon format changes, so the database changes. We'll need Pokemon reversioning added and interconversion, but it's straightforward, no technical obstacles there. So, Pokemon Legends Arceus, very easy, should have no technical issues connecting to Pokemon Home, because they've used the same thing that Sword and Shield and Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, and everything else is used. But because BDSP is Unity... this is a really good question, yeah. So why did they use Unity to make BDSP? The reason that they probably used Unity is because BDSP is the first actual game that ILCA has made themselves. And Unity is a pretty like standard game making software that like a lot of companies have used versus gflib, which has only been used by Game Freak. So ILCA's experience with games is based on helping other people with their games. And as you can see, these apps here, these like anime apps or like Code Vein or like whatever, this stuff all uses Unity. So they used a coding structure that they were familiar with, and they were probably tasked, this is my opinion, not like known, they were probably tasked to make BDSP pretty quickly because they wanted to get it out for the 25th anniversary. And obviously it shipped with no GWS. It shipped with a very small union room. It shipped very broken. And so like not only was this one of the very first games that they've made like from start to finish and they didn't help with, again, they helped with a lot of games. They used a coding base, or they used a game base that they were like familiar with, which was Unity. And it also kind of now makes sense when you look at the Switch version of Pokemon Home and you look at the mobile version of Pokemon Home, that they're pretty different. A lot of people are now speculating that ILCA only made the mobile version of Pokemon Home and Game Freak made the Switch version of Pokemon Home. That's why like some are missing, like that's why like the Switch version is missing a bunch of features and the home version and the mobile version is not. So the question now is like, I have no doubt that like Home will eventually come to Pokemon Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. I have no doubt that Home will come to Pokemon Legends Arceus, like, right? I went from being like, oh, I can't wait to send... okay, so let's rewind a bit. Beep, beep, beep. Back it up. Before these games even came out, myself included, but I think other Pokemon fans were like, I cannot wait to play BDSP. Here are a bunch of Pokemon from older games that I have that once BDSP comes out, I want to move them into that game and do things with them. Whether that is play through the game with like a bunch of shiny Pokemon, or whether that is get a bunch of ribbons on, or whether that is like, I just want to beat Cynthia with my Charizard that I caught in Fire Red Leaf Green, right? There's a lot of reasons for some fans to take Pokemon, move them into a game, do something with them in the game, and then move them back, right? But now after reading some of this stuff, again, I do still think, without a doubt, that Home will eventually connect with BDSP by the end of this year, but I feel like it is actually going to be one way. I feel like it is going to end up being like Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, where you can only move out, but not in. Which, if you were like me, and you were trying to do a ribbon quest, and you were like, oh, maybe I can get away with skipping the contest in Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, because the contest in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl give the same ribbons, but they're much easier in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. I'll just wait for that game. I have less confidence now after reading that is actually going to happen. Which is funny, because I think everyone thought that like Legends was going to be one way, which Legends could still be one way. And when I say one way, I mean like Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. But now it seems like Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl also might be one way. And I think like one way is kind of a big deal, I remember seeing one of the data miners said there was a reward from transferring Pokemon from OG Diamond to BDSP. Oh, I don't doubt that was like a concept that somebody thought of. I don't doubt that was like something that can be found. But there's lots of things in Pokemon games that like exist and then are never used. Like I'm pretty sure Pokemon Sun and Moon had a ribbon for a Pokemon that came from Pokemon Go, and then that never happened. It was like an unused ribbon in Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Moon. That it was like a little G that was like supposed to signify that like this Pokemon transferred from Pokemon Go. That was like never actually used. I do think that like there's not a doubt in my mind that like Home and BDSP will eventually connect. I can't imagine waking up to like Pokemon being like, by the way, we couldn't get it to work. There's obviously ways to get it to work. They ask, are the saves being this way inherently part of Unity, or would it theoretically be possible to update BDSP to produce save files in a more accessible format? This is a really good question. That would require a large re-architecture effort on ILCA's part. Not impossible, but it would require ILCA to do the bulk of the work. And then he goes on, given how heuristic... Well, I'm too dumb to know what this word means. So what Michael's saying here is like he doesn't think that they're going to try to like restructure the entire game to convert means rule of thumb to convert how the Pokemon are saved. Ultimately, the issue is like just how the Pokemon are saved in BDSP are just in a different file format than how they're saved in literally every other Pokemon game. Oh, and then this is where Michael says ILCA has made phone apps. The actual Switch application, which interacts with the game style, game save, is native to the GF. This is the Game Freak lib application. I'd assume that Game Freak wrote it, given that it's a really stripped down version of copy of Sword and Shield. So this again, this comment right here goes back to what I said earlier, which is it is incredibly likely and almost probably true that ILCA only made the mobile version of Pokemon Home because the Switch version of Pokemon Home is running off gflib, which is Game Freak's internal in-house software, and ILCA has really only ever used Unity. If ILCA couldn't even make a very stripped down version of Sword and Shield work on Switch to then just hold Pokemon in boxes, and they've only worked with Unity, which is like not their fault, right? Because like this is like in-house software. Like other developers probably would have to like learn this from the ground up, but like a lot of people know how to use Unity. Hopefully BDSP and Home connects sooner rather than later, knowing that BDSP is actually like completely different and there are these obstacles in the way for working with Home, which is supposed to be this end all be all of where all your Pokemon are supposed to end up, is like both interesting and both frustrating. Again, I do think that Home and BDSP will eventually connect. I am starting to think or strongly believe that it's going to be a one-way direction, like let's go Pikachu, let's go Eevee. But prior to BDSP coming out, this was not on my radar at all. I was like, oh, it's just gonna work like Sword and Shield. You move Pokemon in, you move Pokemon out, get ribbons on them, move them like. But I don't know, maybe it'll be like that. But it just seems like, according to Michael, who has been a pretty good, trustworthy reference in the Pokemon world on the technical end of things, that this is just all a hot mess. And that's like not surprising because BDSP was a hot mess. Hopefully by the end of the year that happens. I think a lot of people thought that BDSP and Home was going to happen shortly after Legends or around Pokemon Day, which would have been February 27th, I think. And now we're like the beginning of April and we still haven't had any word of when that's happening. And not even on Pokemon Day did they like say something is coming. And there's also like, I think people are like, oh, they said spring. I don't ever remember the Pokemon Company saying that Pokemon Home support would come in spring. Yeah, I don't think they ever said spring. I thought they just said 2022. So who knows? And like, I feel like at this point, like BDSP is just. It's not like it's not terrible. It's not the worst game ever made. I think it's just a very disappointing Pokemon game.